And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Bud Elliott. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and everywhere you get your podcast on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, aka the Cover 3 tailgate, because they know that you see those sirens in your feed. You know exactly what that means. North Carolina's next head football coach will be Bill Belichick, the former New England Patriots head coach who won 6 Super Bowls in his time in the NFL as a head coach, 2 more as a defensive coordinator with the New York Giants, spent 1 year out of coaching and will now be in year 1 of coaching college football. This has been a long, drawn out, and to be honest, for a moment, there will be a lot of honesty here over the course of the next however long, exhausting process. But dadgummit, after reports upon reports and confirms and non-confirms and everything else, our very own Jonathan Jones, my friend, has finally gotten us to this point where we can go ahead and throw up those sirens and gather together to discuss what it means for Bill Belichick to be in college football, just in college football at all, but then also at North Carolina. So, Tom, you and I got to discuss this a little bit. You know, a classic. We did 15 good minutes on it. It felt like it was a great way to break it all down, and now we're just back to do it again. But I do think we've got more context. We got more information. So, Bud, I'm curious to hear from you. You and I actually haven't gotten a chance to really discuss this in a couple days. Your thoughts, especially now that we know the finality of it all.
Sure. So, despite my reservations on this because Belichick hasn't coached college in forever, it's still Bill Belichick, and you're still North Carolina. I don't think that this is a Mac Brown situation where I was like, yeah, I kind of hate that hire. Granted, he did a lot of good things. Obviously brought, 2 awesome quarterbacks. Carolina didn't win anything with those, but, at least they brought him in. But he also did a lot of important work with the boosters, that type of thing. Bill Belichick is like a coaching coach. If he whereas Mac Brown was more of a statesman and an organizer, got people excited about the program, brought resources in, a hirer of coaches. Belichick has 6 Super Bowl rings. If you're Carolina, of course you say yes to this. You probably say, yes to pretty much whatever he asked for, which if it's true that he asked for his son to be the interim coach or the head coach in waiting named, cool. You probably say yes to that too, because North Carolina just hired Bill Belichick. And if he's over the hill, if he's past his prime, which, as Tom said the other day on CBS, his dating life says he's not, then I think you got to roll with this, and you have to be really excited. And Belichick's the best coach of the sport of football, probably ever. You can't say no to that. It may not work.
I don't think it will. It's 3 years, $30 million is what I just saw on Twitter. So $10 million a year. It's a short contract, which, considering what we typically see in the college football world, he's 72, he's soon to be 73. I feel like that sets up the succession plan that they have in place. This is a very, very interesting hire, and I am very skeptical. It could end up being spectacular. I don't know, but you mentioned it's been forever since he coached in college. He's never coached in college. His dad did. He was there for his dad, but he has never been a coach at the college level. The college level he was around at the time, as I mentioned on the show this morning, is a completely different universe than what it is now. Granted, it's closer to what he's dealt with in the NFL. And maybe from that aspect, it's just now that he has the job, and I think of his personality, like Danny was saying earlier today, there are going to be certain players that want to play for Bill Belichick because he's Bill Belichick. But it's also a world in which everybody's on a 1-year contract. You can't be gruff with a lot of these kids and expect them to want to stick around. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. It'll be interesting to see truly how much of it is a figurehead status, because like you mentioned, with Mac, a lot of Mac's thing has always been the politician role.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick is not going to be the politician. He is not going to be glad handing boosters and doing all this kind of stuff. He just wants to be in there crushing tape and evaluating players and teams. So it is going to be really, really weird. I think like I said, it could be great. It could be horrible. I don't know.
It's great for us.
Yeah. I feel sorry for Chip Patterson, but it's tremendous content.
Are you excited?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, number one, I root for the Cover 3 podcast. I root for there to be interesting things that are going on all around me, of which I might be able to provide insight and analysis. I mean, it's good for business. It could flame out horribly. Here's what I've been thinking about a lot. North Carolina has spent like a top 35, top 40 program. North Carolina has invested and prioritized football like a top 35, top 40 program. Hiring Bill Belichick and meeting some of the investment demands puts you more on the level of Bud's 18 programs. It puts you on the level of contending for championships. So will the Bill Belichick era be successful? I think that anything less than championship contention is a failure. I think
ACC championship contention or national?
But this program has not won an ACC championship.
That's why I asked.
They have not won an ACC championship since 1980. Whole generations of North Carolina football fans just simply do not believe it's an option.
I mean, we were joking about Miami's, conference title drought being old enough to drink this year. Carolina's conference title drought's kids are old enough to drink this year.
So North Carolina has not won an ACC championship since 1980. And you know what else? And this is just like all perception, but North Carolina has lost 11 of its last 14 bowl games. This is historically a program that wins at a 55% clip and once out of every 4 to 5 years might have a top 25 finish. And it is because, in part, they have invested and prioritized like a program that wants to win a little bit more than it loses and every now and then have a feel-good season to get the juices flowing. And so, in hiring Bill Belichick and making this type of financial investment and commitment, you are giving the tools and putting a coach in place to actually make a run at championship contention, which is that is why you win 9 games, you win 8 games. That's what Mac was doing. For Bill Belichick, the only way that success is going to be looked at across your 3, let's say he's only there 3 years. The only way those $30 million across 3 years was worth it is if they are playing for and potentially winning championships almost every single season.
What do you think the odds are of that?
Sorry, remember no math classes at UNC for your boy. Hold on. I mean, here if
I set the over-under at 0.5 ACC titles in the next 3 years, you going over? You going under?
I'm going under, but I'm not talking about what I think will happen. I'm talking about what the expectation should be. I'm saying that there has been a long time, there's been a part of the University of North Carolina community that has banged their table and said, we could be better, but we choose not to be better. And that this is for the first time in my lifetime that North Carolina as a university community is trying to go for it. And so don't allow them to get away with results that would have been good seasons before. If you're going to actually go out there and change the standard, don't accept anything but the standard. So that's kind of why that is why I'm more curious and interested about this than anything, because I had somebody say well, if it fails, then you at least tried. And we can at least say, you know what, then maybe North Carolina is never going to be good. Because when outsiders look at North Carolina and talk about that sleeping giant, there has never been anyone to set an alarm clock. And hiring Bill Belichick, boosting your investment in staffing, boosting your investment in resources, boosting your investment in NIL is a loud ass alarm clock to try to wake the sleeping giant. And so this is the great experiment right here. It could flame out horribly and be a huge waste of money. Or they could win an ACC title. Because I'll tell you what, SMU year one played for an ACC title and was a 55-yard field goal away from going to overtime and maybe winning it. And Louisville might have been playing against a third-string quarterback, but they got to the ACC championship game. They were out there. They had a crack at it. I mean, hell, even Larry Fedora and Mac Brown each got a crack at it, though that was in the Coastal Division days. So getting to the ACC championship was a little bit of a different path. I think that the idea that Bill Belichick could have a team that is contending for an ACC championship and contending for college football playoff spots is not only possible, but should be the expectation.
Are you happy if he gets Carolina to like one ACC title game and it's within a game of making another in 3 years?
Are they? No, that's tough because it's like, how does it look and why is it happening?
Sure.
If are you how about this, Mr. Player Evaluation, Mr. Steal in the draft in the late round. If you got all this NIL money and like, no offense to our present company, if you go throw out a Florida State 2024 season, then okay, we were investing in your great football acumen and your ability to identify players who can fit a system, coach them up. And if that doesn't happen, then like those things are failures along the way.
It's not the same because they don't have the accomplishments of Bill Belichick, who is a fantastic football coach. Again, when I whatever this hire, it's not because I don't think Bill Belichick knows how to coach football. He does. It's just I don't know how he works at this level. But anyways, I could think of a couple hires in recent memory where it was former NFL head coaches who were going to bring a more NFL approach to these downtrodden kind of mid-range programs, and they were really going to change things. One was Lovie Smith at Illinois. The other was Herm Edwards at Arizona State. I don't think it's a coincidence that after both were removed from those jobs, those programs got significantly better. Now, you can argue that both of them had set down a foundation of talent at those programs, but Kenny Dillingham kind of brought in his whole new roster this year to win with in a new league. Lovie Smith had some good talent on there, and once Brett Bielema and his staff came in there, they actually developed them and turned them into NFL players. So I don't know. I'm not saying it can't work. I just don't feel like there's a long history of successful examples.
Spurrier at South Carolina?
Was Spurrier an NFL head coach though? Like he was
in between
with Washington.
Yeah,
but he had college experience.
I do think there's a difference between like Herm Edwards and Bill Belichick, though.
I do too, but it's a completely different landscape. Like in the NFL, everybody's working under a salary cap. You have contracts that players are beholden to. In college, yeah, we're going to have revenue sharing. And yes, there's a cap on that, I guess, is how much you can spend, but you still have other sources of income and there are no contracts. These are not your employees. You have to convince them to stay. Like you can't just expect them to want to play for you if you're not treating them the way they want to be treated. We're seeing it all the time. Even guys who have been treated well are entering the transfer portal just because they're trying to see what their value is on the market or somebody has already offered them a bunch more money. I don't know if his plan for how to do things, especially if it's on a 3-year contract, makes a whole lot of sense for the modern kind of what we're dealing with in college football.
Look, that's fair, but it's almost like, hey, I'm taking somebody off Chopped and we'll see if they can run a restaurant. Like on Chopped, you're kind of a very like limited sample, which is more in the NFL. Around a restaurant, you're kind of limited by other factors. Like what kind of capital do you have? Do you have investors? Like what's your timeline to turn a profit? Like there's a lot of different things. I don't know why I'm making all these food references here. Maybe I'm hungry for dinner, but
You're
like,
hungry.
look, it's
same. Bro, I ain't eating all day.
what we don't know
Hands
is
around my throat right now.
what is the investment level of Carolina?
Yeah.
Right? Like that's kind of the missing variable in this equation. How much is Carolina actually investing? I guess we'll see, right? Do you think Belichick takes this if Carolina is not investing?
I guarantee that the amount that is being put forth towards the procurement of talent is an increase in what they were working with.
outside of the House settlement?
The number, I'll tell you what. They were at what, 4 point something rough estimates for NIL this year.
Jeez.
And now they're going to 20.
Oh yeah, bud. Four something, like just under 5, like maybe it's somewhere between 4.
Like on the defensive line, or like just for the defense, or
4 point something.
Wasn't Hampton getting like 6?
Not I mean,
no, yeah, but like
Yeah.
600.
So we're talking about the X, like it's so funny. I talk about like a something X increase. You know, on one hand, I was like, man, it's not hard to be able to increase it. But at the same time, I was like, okay, well, who's going to be out there? And that's why I think that it took so long for the standoff to end, is because we weren't negotiating 3 years, $30 million. We were negotiating being able to fund all of these other things, including NIL. So I think that correct me if I'm wrong, Bud, but my expectation is that even with the House settlement, the NIL is still going to come in on top of that.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
Yeah.
Like Texas is going to spend over 30 this year, guys.
Yeah.
like,
I'm pretty sure.
So
I'm saying, like, the report that, like, I think it was Matt Hayes who put out there, like, North Carolina is prepared to raise their NIL to 20 million. So is everybody. Like, that's the whole game now. That's what this all is.
Like what you got to do is you ask, are you giving the full house number and how much on top? Okay. What's your, like, okay.
But your house number shouldn't be your NIL. Like NIL
So
is
it's the call
not
and the raise.
Right.
You're calling the pot. What are you raising it to?
And the raise would be the 20, if that's the way that I would consider it. But but like you're saying is everybody's going to have the 20.
Yeah. That's why, like, you have good P5 teams being like, why the hell is our backup who made 75 this year asking for 550?
Right.
Because somebody, like, you know, your second string or somebody else's starter, and now they got enough money. Like, for them, like, that's an outlay, and they'll pay it.
I got some. Obviously, we'll keep rolling on this, but coming up on the other side, a look at North Carolina's 2025 schedule as we continue to break down their Tar Heels hire of Bill Belichick as the next head football coach. All that and more next. Before we get into the schedule, but what sort of lingering questions do you have on this one?
What are you going to run on offense?
Oh.
Defensively, I have a pretty good idea of what you're going to run. Who's the GM? Like, is Belichick going to try to do all this himself, or is he going to bring in somebody who's a GM? Are you going to have like a college guy and an NFL guy to kind of bridge that gap? Do you care about high school recruiting? That's one for me. If it's a 3-year deal, like, that's to Tom's point. We used to tell kids, hey, coach has less than 4 years left. That means he's, you know, at the risk of not being there for your entire college career. Now people's college careers are obviously, you know, kind of broken up quite a bit. So, like, that would be something. Is high school recruiting a part of this, or, you know, is it just not, right? Like, I mean, Dion, for the most part, didn't do any high school recruiting, didn't do any home business. They got a couple kids this year who were pretty decent, but, you know, like, I assume they're going to portal this thing pretty hard. He's going to try to win now.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it was so funny. It started.
So FanDuel posted 6.5 for the win total. If you're saying that they're you know, paying a lot of money and that's going to go all portal and they're not trying to save some for high school, probably need to go over that 6.5 like now.
I mean, it's too late to be able to get high school together, right?
What's their non-con, Chip?
I'll tell you.
What's up?
What's going on, man?
I don't know if you heard, Bill Belichick's the new coach in North Carolina.
No way.
Yeah.
That came out of nowhere.
I know.
The world is shocked.
I cannot believe how.
Have you seen some of the reports on the NIL stuff?
Yes.
So it's confusing because there's going to be revenue share and then there's going to be additional funding. What is the total number that we're talking about?
18 plus what?
Yeah, I think it's 18 plus 20 is what you'd be talking about, right?
38?
Let's go. I mean, screw that. They might beat the Patriots.
Is Tar
Right?
Heels like short for oil money now? Like what are we?
No, I would say the same thing about Texas. Like
Tobacco settlement now, like that's done. Just like hey, that
no, but
$7 comes off the books.
Archie, I'm not assuming that Texas is not going to spend the same amount of money on NIL. I don't think rev share means NIL money goes down. Do you?
I don't know.
In some cases, I think that some people will be like, the school's paying for it now, but the ones who want to win, no. 38?
No, I'm using 20 plus 18 because I'm just saying that you can't say that the NIL number is 20 and that's just 18 plus 2, which would be half of what you had this year when you were sitting there like with $4 or $5 million. So think about this like logically. If I'm demanding that we have a $20 million NIL war chest, I have to think that is a different pot than the rev share.
I mean, okay, but just to make sure, 20 plus 18. I mean, I went to Florida State, but that's still a 4-year school. We're talking 38 million for Carolina.
I don't look. I'm telling you the way that I'm interpreting it. I don't.
Holy cow!
Right?
I'm telling you, give him the champion. Just put him in now.
In that
we
case,
don't even need to play the season. I mean, it's just power rating. Look at all those 5 stars transfers.
I mean, is that $20 million a year? Is that $20 million spread out? I mean, I just,
fair.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to have a $38 million roster. But I do think that the $20 million figure has to be a pot that is different than rev share because there's no way they're going to have less NIL money. Right?
What I miss.
Right?
I think North Carolina is going to have $100 million a year. And they're going to win every single game that they play, and they're going to win 3 national titles. He's Bill Belichick. He's the greatest coach of all time.
If you spend 38 million,
you better win it all.
Yeah, it all. Right. Like
yeah.
Not ACC. You better win the whole damn thing.
But here's the thing. When this money comes,
is going to spend 45, I think that.
Right. Texas is not going to spend 45. I think Texas will spend in the 30s, though.
No, I think that Texas
will spend in the 30s.
I think Texas's university will spend 18, and I think their boosters are still going to spend as much as they need to do to have the best roster in the country.
But they already have a quarterback who they will pay, obviously. But assuming Ewers goes to hit the transfer portal, Manning won't be cheap, but they don't have to go out and buy a new quarterback. Carolina does.
All I see is what the exact numbers of this are. I just think that it is the fact that the school is deciding that they are going to give him what he wants, and some big money boosters are decided they're going to give him what they want. And I'm really sorry, to the lab that we just sold. I'm really sorry to the biology department that just got canceled. You get down there by the bell tower. There's some great science buildings that unfortunately are now sponsored by Verizon.
They're cell phone towers now.
It's fascinating. DK, what, you and I talked about this for a little bit earlier,
I'm fired up for it. I know there's going to be some critics of it. People will say it'll never work. Again, I don't think a player will be surprised that Bill Belichick coaches them hard, is kind of jerky, maybe even borderline a-hole, and they know exactly what they're getting. They're getting a coach with 6 Super Bowl rings that can help you get to the NFL. I think that, his manifesto, Bible, whatever you want to call it, with that clear-cut mindset of I'm going to help players get to the NFL, I think they buy into that. I think it's a good sign. We were talking about this before. A lot of players who are in the portal, all of a sudden like, whoa, wait a second. I may not go to the portal. I may stay here right where I am. Let me hear this guy out. I think that kind of shows you. I think there's a lot of players that would not have picked up the phone from a North Carolina coach or considered it, all of a sudden will. But I have no idea if Bill Belichick can close them, if he is going to try to, kiss their butt and kiss the ring. He's going to have to kiss their ring, but they, is he going to do the old school recruiting where he schmoozes it up and sleeps on the floor and dances around? I don't think so, but I don't think he has to.
I think it's
he's gonna
closer
be
to
who he
what
is.
Bud said. Deion Sanders doesn't do in-home visits.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to anymore. I don't think you have to when you have his clout and Deion's clout. I don't think you have to do all that.
I think it depends on the goals. Like, it's very, very expensive, and also the variance is off the charts to buy your roster every year.
Mm-hmm.
There is absolutely, there's a real monetary benefit to bringing high schoolers in and actually being able to evaluate them in your program, so you know if you want them or not. You know what I'm saying? Like that's tough to just bring in brand new guys every year nonstop.
I have seen Bill Belichick at a roller rink in a pirate costume. I have not seen him two-stepping in a living room like Nick Saban, So he can adjust and he can adapt different environments along the way. That's it'll be something interesting to follow. All right. Do we want to go ahead and hit Rich Rod now, or is that
The
that
animal
official?
stuff is happening.
Yeah. Go ahead and tackle this. Any other Bill Belichick thoughts? I mean, we can sit here.
Nobody wants to hear my thoughts anymore. Everybody's mad at me because I don't think this is the greatest hire of all time. I'm just going to throw this out there. Going to do it. 77% win percentage with Tom Brady, 45% without. Better get him some players. Because
and if he's in between, he's still better than the historical UNC average of 55%.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Because I mean, Chip, I've talked to you about this off air, but what this strikes me as, and slap me if I'm wrong, North Carolina, it's a basketball school. They've never been overly interested in winning at football, correct?
Winning big.
Correct. This reminds me of a rich guy buying a very expensive painting, not because he cares about art, but just so he could say he has it. That's what this reminds me of.
Yeah. I tell you what, that man might not agree with Jean-Michel Basquiat's politics, but he likes being able to say he's got a Basquiat in the front hallway.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go through the schedule. Thank you, Max, and the tailgate for keeping us on track as we're trying to balance lots of different things at once. So
he said Tom buys art for the art.
Yeah.
North Carolina football schedule 2025 will open against TCU in week 1. Then they will be on the road at Charlotte in week 2, where Tim Albin will be the opponent right there. Richmond comes to Chapel Hill on September 13th. And then, another first-year coach on first-year coach crime, Bill Belichick at Scott Frost in week 4, UNC at UCF. Kind of interesting game there. Then the ACC schedule kicks off. They are at Cal. Oh, no, we don't know the order of the ACC schedule. That will be set in the future. Their road games in conference play are at Cal, at NC State, at Syracuse, at Wake Forest. Their home games are Virginia, Stanford, Duke, and I mentioned this one, Danny, in our conversation on CBS Sports HQ earlier, the Clemson Tigers. So you want to measure yourself against the best. You want to be the pro program in the ACC. We will get in year 1 a face-to-face challenge with maybe the last college program in college football, Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers. So when you are looking at Cal, NC State, Clemson, Duke, Stanford, Virginia, Syracuse, Wake, and a non-con that includes TCU and UCF from the Big 12, Charlotte and Richmond, what do we think there?
You forgot one. The Fenway Bowl, which we did preview, which will be Bill Belichick's debut on the side. I mean, he's got to be there, right?
He has to.
It's decked out in hoodie. They're playing UConn. You got to show up. I mean, it's going to be a record amount of credentials handed out just for the New England media. They want to get one last shot at him, one last crack at him. Just had to get that in there because it's epic. I have to run. I just got home from one soccer game. I got to take my other daughter to her volleyball practice. So I hate that I have to run. I'm fired up for it. Give me over the win total.
It's good
Book
for
your
business.
tickets to wherever it is
Let's
next
go.
year in the playoffs. And they're playing, well, they have to get through Florida State first, but we'll see.
All right, see DK.
Just put Danny's tweet in his place on the screen there.
What did his tweet say?
He tweeted, he said Super Bowl trophies among head coaches, ACC 6, SEC 0.
Get out of here.
Fantastic.
That's so good. Let's see. Win total is 6.5. I mean, you got to go over.
Yeah, 12-0.
I don't.
I think it's over.
Yeah, I think they'll go over 6.5 for sure.
I mean, you get what? Duke, Stanford, UVA, Cuse, Wake.
What does Liam think?
Liam, how many games? Here, come on, you can come out. You're hiding. All right, man.
Hey, emergency podcast life. We do what we can.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You get 10 minutes and 2 kids. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it should be like 7.5.
I mean, oof.
I think they'll win. They'll go bowling for sure.
What?
Yes.
No, you don't pay a college coach $10 million a year to go bowling.
Well, I'm just trying to make the point that I don't think Bill Belichick's going to go 0-12. I just don't think this hire is going to work out like the way.
Don't let any instant reaction feedback make you think that your skepticism is not welcomed. There are, and I'm not going to get super cocky or arrogant on here, but I'm just going to say there is a very large audience that will be consuming this later that will be nodding along to things that Tom says, because the glory of the Cover 3 podcast is that across our audience, someone thinks that one of us is stupid, one of us is right, one of us is funny, one of us is wrong. Like, I mean, it's just there is somebody out there who 100% agrees with you. So don't let the feedback of the
No, but there's
like,
and I get it too. Like North Carolina fans right now are super pumped. So for somebody to come out here and be like, I don't think it makes sense or it's going to work, everybody's going to get kind of pissed off.
What did I do earlier? I said, do I think it can work? Yes. Do I think it makes sense? No. Like I see the path. It doesn't sound sensible, but now that we're on the path, let's go. Right? I mean, it is it's like a Vegas weekend. You might end up broke and hungover. You might hit it big.
You might hit it big, yeah.
So I don't know. Like, good luck, North Carolina. There's a lot of different ways this could go. So it'll be fun to watch. Okay. We are going to be back Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. We are going to give you our big game breakdown for Army Navy, our locks for Army Navy as well. If you haven't done your patriotic duty, make sure you jump on that. As always, we do for that game and all Service Academy games. Before we get out of here, any like quick thoughts on Rich Rod?
It's a great hire for West Virginia. I have no idea if it'll work out.
Same thing we said about Scott Frost, or at least what I said about Scott Frost. Did you get him at a discount? And if so, are you able to use more of that money towards the players? Like Rich Rod, I don't think was considered for a lot of other good jobs. You know, didn't have leverage. Hopefully, if you're an AD, you're like, yeah, we're going to give you a little bit less. You get to have a big job, and you get more money for the players.
And he did do a good job at Jacksonville State.
Yes.
I mean, you can't really deny that he hasn't been successful.
He's a good coach.
Yeah, like the
Michigan
Arizona
was
stuff.
all 40-40 and didn't like him, and he also didn't recruit defense worth a damn.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe there's some relationship, like some some relation there. But the guy can coach,
right?
Will they be better than they were under Neil Brown? I don't know.
If they just stay remotely healthy, then I think probably.
I mean, it is the Big 12. Like, you could be 12th, you could be 3rd, and it'll be just a couple of games and a couple bounces that end up deciding it. So
that same coin works with 90% of coaching hires.
Yep. Bill Belichick, next head coach at the University of North Carolina. It'll be a ride. And I hope everybody will come join me. I'll give you a nice inside into the casino. Did you guys know this? I think they just I'm lifting a Twitter joke. I will shout it out tomorrow once I go back and find it. But it's like the joke was you build a fake casino, you invite Michael Jordan, and he doesn't realize he's actually funding the NIL.
Is the Jordan stuff true where it's like he just won't play golf for like under a certain amount?
No. Do you know what the truth, the as I understand it, the way that Jordan does it is he says, what number makes you uncomfortable?
Mm-hmm.
It's not under a certain amount. It's whatever's going to make you sweat. So like for me, I'd be like, I don't know, $100.
I'd be like
How much
$10
you
a
plan
hole,
for,
Mike.
whatever. Yeah, makes you uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
$10 a hole.
All right, sweet. Good stuff. We'll be back 11 a.m. What's up, Bud? We'll be back 11
Happy birthday,
a.m.
Hudson.
Eastern time Thursday. We'll continue to get into more fallout from this landscape shifting higher and so much more. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Bud Elliott 3. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
I can't wait to see Bill in that sissy blue. What?
How about we